All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again today. Kind of a follow up to two live streams from last week. I'm going to be talking about the issue that was going on there, and the battle continues, as you kind of can see from the thumbnail here. The first little bit, I'm not just going to talk about the drama or what some people call drama, some people call defense. I will say this: Jimmy was defending himself. And I don't consider what Jimmy doing as defending himself to be the drama part. The drama's, I guess, turned into what a lot of the chatter has been around this whole issue. A lot of these camps getting so sensitive because one person had a different opinion from everyone else. That's what I consider the drama. We've already had two live streams about that. Kyle made a video. Kyle responded. Jimmy's made a video. Jimmy's responded on Twitter. TYT's got involved. Now TYT's involved. They're attacking Glenn Greenwald because Glenn Greenwald defended Jimmy Dore. There's just so damn much that's been going on here, and it's getting pretty ridiculous, to be honest with you, with some of the backlash. Jimmy Dore was just on, good friend of the channel, Frank Analysis. He did a live stream over on YouTube. He also had kind of a follow-up going on with over on Rockfin. And that was a very good interview. So if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend going to check that out. But here's something that I've been kind of noticing that's been taking place more or less. And I said this last week. A lot of people are really demonizing Kyle Kulinski for what he's been doing and in his part in this. And I think Jimmy took a lot of his comments to heart, and it definitely, I think, offended him with the way Kyle responded. I don't think, a lot of people are saying, he was just shilling for TYT. And I don't think that's the case because, as Kyle points out, he's burned the bridges with TYT too. And I understandably think that he did because he criticized TYT, and not just light criticism either. I mean, he called their takes fucked up and cringe. So some people say he should have went at him a little harder. Some people said he didn't do enough. I mean, that's an argument that goes back and forth. We already covered that. Here's the big takeaway that's going to this is my point of view, okay? And I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to word this. This is something that I thought was going to happen last year. And I'm not just talking about TYT Jimmy Dore. No. I said going into the 2020 election cycle that if Joe Biden won, the left was going to die. The left would implode. Why did I say that? I said because right now, the biggest argument that's going for them, because everyone who's on the left hated Donald Trump. If you're left wing, there might be certain elements, but everybody was like, yeah, Donald Trump's got to go. The big argument for the progressives right now, or was for the progressives, is that you can't beat Donald Trump with a candidate like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. That was the whole pitch, right? And of course, now mainstream media said Joe Biden could win, but they also said Hillary Clinton could win. And then when Hillary failed, this was their chance to say, see, now you get the orange buffoon. Now you get Donald Trump, and you're not going to get anything else. You've got to elect someone whose policies actually represent something that the people want. That's what the left was really platformed on. And I said, if Joe Biden wins, that entire argument goes right out the door because the candidate, the flawed candidate, and understand, we're not even just talking about a flawed Democrat. We're talking about a flawed Democrat who can barely construct sentences. We're talking about a flawed Democrat who doesn't know what he's signing when it's put in front of him. We're talking about a flawed Democrat that, sucked on a debate stage, doesn't meet with very many people. I mean, this guy is being protected to no end. And that is who was able to beat Donald Trump. And I said it. I said, if he wins, the left, this progressive movement is going to fall apart. Now, can it be rebuilt? Possibly. But this, I think, is symbolic of a lot of what I said was coming. And that's why I used the thumbnail that I used for this video and said what I said, the implosion of the left, the death of the left. This is where I'm getting at with this. The TYT camp was taking that money, okay? They obviously became more like CNN and MSNBC. They took the money from Katzenberg and Buddy Roemer, so we all knew which direction they were going in. But at least to some degree, they still tried to push that left progressive stuff up until it became apparent Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. Then they just kept bending the knee further and further, and now they're almost complete MSNBC. A lot of people say they were going that way before, but they're there now. Now they're completely attacking Julian Assange. They're completely attacking Aaron Mattei. They're completely attacking Glenn Greenwald. They're completely trying to attack Jimmy Dore. The only one in this that they haven't gone after the jugular of yet is Kyle Kulinski, really. I mean, so TYT is off the grid. Now you've got people like Kyle who were stuck in a pretty precarious situation because they tried to get the Justice Democrats, he and Jank and other people, and the Justice Democrats became a complete fucking failure. Kyle still has ties to the TYT network. So here he is stuck in the middle, and he's got a choice to make. He's either going to have to be a Jimmy Dore type and break out on his own, or he's going to have to sever ties with the TYT network. And he could be doing that by force just for criticism. They might just kick him all the way on out. Hell, I don't know. But the point is, Joe Biden got elected, and look at how these camps are busting up and dividing themselves at this point. And they're being busted up more or less in a lot of ways. And look, I'm not saying don't have your own opinion about what you think is right or who you think is right. But this really all seems to be coming from a whole lot of hero worship. The Jimmy Dore camp and the Kyle Kulinski camp and the TYT camp, and then the people who are looking at it from the outside at all three are on entirely different planets in a lot of cases. The TYT planet, I don't know what the fuck planet they're on, but there's their group, and they literally buy and drink the Kool-Aid TYT selling. You got the Kyle Kulinski camp, who I guess still like all three somehow, and they try to take his side. Then you got the Jimmy Dore camp, and I'd say the Jimmy Dore camp is probably about the strongest of any of them, just because I think Jimmy Dore has come to symbolize so much more for a lot of people. I think Ali Alexandra did a good job of pointing that out when her and Mona and Sebs were all on my show. But this split, all these different factions now that are coming apart on the left. Guess what that's gonna cause? Guess what that's gonna cause? All that division. Not only are these people who have shows not wanting to work with each other anymore, not only are they probably not going to be able to collaborate, at least for the time being, what's going to wind up happening is it's going to cause division amongst any sort of coalition building. Like, even if Kyle Kulinski and Jimmy Dore both go for a candidate or something, they're going to say, oh, why are you working with that guy? Remember what he did? This sort of shit, it is causing a split through multiple parts of the left. And this is why I said if Joe Biden wins, the left is going to crumble. Their argument falls apart, and there are going to be people who probably wanted to see quote unquote progressive get elected, but they realize where their bread is buttered, and they're going to grift. They're going to go to wherever they think the money is to be made, because the progressive argument now looks like it was dumb as shit. Why? Because the guy who we swore up and down couldn't fucking beat Donald Trump beat Donald Trump. So what does that say about the progressives? Mainstream media is supposed to be the trusted source. And what they said was all these fringe radical progressives can't fucking win. And then guess what? They didn't win the primary. And the anointed one who did win the primary beat Donald Trump. Now, I know a lot of people out there, if you're hearing that, understand I'm not saying that people like Clinton and Biden won those primaries fair and square. And as far as the stuff about, the election and integrity and all that, I think there's definitely some strong questions to ask as far as all that is concerned. But it doesn't matter. The optics are the key thing here. And the optics for the average American who doesn't just tune into this show or the Jimmy Dore show or Secular Talk, Frank Analysis, the Radical Independent, the Naturalist Capitalist, DJ L7, because I see he's in my chat here. These guys that don't watch these YouTube shows, they are not going to look at it that way. They watch mainstream media. They watch corporate news. And what they heard was that someone like Joe Biden could beat Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders couldn't do it. Tulsi Gabbard couldn't do it. Andrew Yang couldn't do it. Marianne Williamson couldn't do it. Hell, Elizabeth Warren, if you want to stretch it and go that far. They can't get the job done. Joe Biden can. And Joe Biden did. And meanwhile, the left the entire time was saying, well, he can't win. He's too flawed. These are the people that gave you Donald Trump. So naturally, they're not going to be able to get rid of Donald Trump. But turns out he did get rid of Donald Trump. Fairly. Was it completely fair and square? Was it honest? Was it rigged? It's not the point. The average American looks at it and says, well, he won. And it didn't help a damn thing when people like Bernie Sanders came out and said he could win either. So that pretty much shot a lot of it in the foot. But I said, if he wins, left's going to fall apart because their entire argument, what they were selling to the public on this is why we need these types of candidates, they're going to look like a bunch of dumbasses because they didn't win. They didn't win, and the guy you said couldn't win won. Now, how's that going to look? That looks like a big black eye as far as what your knowledge is of the political system. That doesn't help anything. And so here we are. The election happened. The force the vote stuff happened. True colors started to become revealed. And guess what? For whatever reason, Jimmy Dore would not take his gloves off and throw hard shots at TYT until force the vote and things like that happened. Then he started doing it. And as I pointed out last week at the time, you had a grown man crying when he left TYT about leaving TYT. And you had the host of TYT crying that this guy left. Fast forward a little over a year or so later, now they're going at each other's throats because one is a complete sellout, which I think he has been for a long time, but you wouldn't say that until this happened, until he finally revealed some true colors on healthcare in front of the world for the world to see. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to call him out. And then, of course, they start going back and forth. You get the people like David Dole and Sam Cedar and, David Packman and all these guys. And then they're talking about how the Jimmy Dore and the force to vote people are grifters. You get Vosh even hopping his fucking cringy ass into the conversation. Okay. You get all these actors involved and then they start calling out the force to vote stuff. No one wants to hold the Justice Democrats' feet to the fire. The Justice Democrats then assimilate into the Democrat Party. They are part of the Democrat system, just a little more woke, basically. So you get Jimmy Dore calling that out. Well, Jank, obviously founder of Justice Democrats, he's in a position where he's going to keep towing the party line. Number one, because he's just probably that dumb. And number two, because he got paid a shit ton of money to fucking, sheepdog people for the Democrat Party. He got paid an ass load full of fucking money to gaslight. So he's going to do his fucking job. He took the job. He took the money. According to some people, he burnt through the fucking money. So now he's got to make sure he keeps doing the job so that he has a chance to make a little more fucking money. That's where this whole thing started. At the time, Kyle was on the force to vote side, but he doesn't come out and really criticize anyone that was against it. He just kind of voices his disagreement here and there and then moves along. But it couldn't last. It couldn't last because as things progressed, the fucking flames got hotter. The war got hotter. The war got more violent, vicious. The rhetoric turned itself up. TYT, obviously, they have these fucking Napoleon complexes. They don't like to be attacked. They don't like having criticism thrown their fucking way. And they damn sure don't like being exposed for being hacks. Don't like it, especially from someone who used to be one of their own. So when Jimmy starts taking those gloves off finally, then they get triggered. Now they're trying to figure out, because their audience is going straight down the fucking shitter, how are we going to get him back? Soon as that fucking happened, then there's one guy who was stuck right in the fucking middle. The guy right in the middle was Kyle Kulinski, a guy who was part of the TYT network, but had many times in the past praised Jimmy Dore, talked about Jimmy Dore was being his good friend, and was part of Jimmy Dore's Force the Vote movement. So now Kyle's at a fucking impasse. Which way do I turn? Because the people who are technically still helping my platform are TYT. But I agree with more substance shit, I guess, with Jimmy Dore. But Jimmy Dore gets a lot of negative pushback from some of these inner circle lefty YouTube channels like the fucking Sam Cedars and the David Doles. They don't like Jimmy Dore. Meanwhile, they're more in league with TYT. I'm still friends with TYT. So he made his fucking choices. He took his bets. Chad Wilson, I see, Kyle hedged his bet. Yeah, he did. And I think he still had some pretty strong criticism of TYT. I don't know how damaged that relationship is, because you haven't heard from the horse's mouth yet. You haven't heard Jank or Anna respond to Kyle. Doesn't mean that they're not behind the scenes. Don't know. But you haven't heard that criticism. Either way, what has happened are all these different factions who have split themselves apart into these camps because of this feud going on between two YouTubers and an online news show. Because of this feud engulfing these three people, there are massive camps going down through the left, per se, that have split themselves apart. And if you're in this camp and I'm in this camp, we go for each other's jugular, because how dare you support a lying piece of shit, or how dare you support a grifter, or how dare you support some, perverted jagoff comedian. It's fucking infighting, and it ain't just at their level. All these fucking viewers go at each other's throat, engaging in some serious ass hero worship here. No one sits back and really looks at the facts. Have you ever seen those scenarios, how there's usually three people involved, and there's always like one was a spectator of the situation. The other two were involved in the conflict. And when the two that are involved in the conflict always gave their side, one had a side of the story that was obviously way more favorable to them and how the other person was doing so bad. And then the other person responds, says a lot of the same shit, how they were really in the right, the other person was in the wrong. And then there's always that middle person that looked at it and said, so you both kind of have some details, right? But you both kind of, I don't guess, remember things clearly because you did this and you did this and et cetera, et cetera. That's a lot of the stands involved in this situation aren't looking at it that way. They like Jimmy Dore more than they like Kyle Kulinski or TYT. And I can understand why you don't like TYT. I can even understand why you don't like Kyle Kulinski, the way he keeps trying to tell people third parties are a waste of time and keep voting for fucking Democrats, basically. Well, and that's a whole nother subject right there. That's a whole nother subject. I plan on actually talking about some good old Kyle Kulinski and Nick Brana shit that just came up recently. But it's just the fact that the stands refuse to sit back and look at the shit objectively. They refuse to sit back, look at the situation and say, okay, where were things blown out of context? Is Kyle completely being a shill? If so, why would he use such harsh language with the TYT? Is this just genuinely what he believes? And are we going to demonize a person for his opinion? Now, you could debate if he has that opinion, how much of a friend he is of Jimmy Dore. The point is, though, this is a squabble between a lot of prominent faces on lefty media, lefty YouTube, whatever. And I don't care what you think of the Young Turks. I'm not telling you like the Young Turks because I fucking don't. I haven't liked the Young Turks for a very long fucking time. I didn't like the Young Turks. I didn't like the Young Turks when not liking the Young Turks wasn't the cool thing to do. Let me put it to you that way. Before you had Jimmy Dore calling out the Young Turks and talking about how bad they were, you had guys like me watching the Young Turks and saying, these people are full of shit. So that being said, now all these camps are split because of their squabble. And because of their squabble, it's splitting everyone up into these factions. They're going to fight with each other. They're going to go to war with each other. They're going to go for each other's jugular. Here's the point I'm getting at. What do you think that's going to do to help any of these quote unquote progressives that have to be elected get elected? Now, I get there's some people out there who don't think it can happen anyway because this is rigged and that is rigged. And again, that's an entirely different conversation. But we're going to go from the devil's advocate argument that there's some chance that some people might win. Again, the entire premise was a guy like Biden can't win because Biden and Clinton and Obama and Bush gave us Trump. So they can't win to replace him. He decimated a Bush. He beat a Clinton. There's no fucking way a senile Biden could win, but then he did. Now, these factions have split apart. They are fighting, and as I was pointing out about TYT, you ain't got to like TYT. You ain't even got to consider TYT to be left. But for a long time, the Young Turks have been perceived as being an online news show that was left. That was left. They were supposed to be left-wing media. Look at a lot of who they've brought on. Aggressive progressives. That doesn't indicate right-wing, right? Now, that might be what they've turned into now, more right-wing, more MSNBC-like, but it's not what they were known for. And so for the quasi kind of casual viewer who just tunes in every once in a while, guarantee you he ain't looking at this the same way me or the people in the chat or the people who are really invested in this whole thing are looking at this. They're looking at it from the lens of, oh, well, it's three lefties fighting each other. The left's imploding. The left is imploding. And what's that going to do to bring anyone in? Who wants to come into this shit show? You think you're going to win many people over to the left when that is the figureheads? I understand there's people out there who are not doing this kind of shit, that are a better embodiment, I guess, of what the left should be. People like Nico House, people like Frank Analysis, the Convo Couch, Hard Lens Media, right? The Gray Zone, whatever. But I guess the Gray Zone's pretty invested in this at this point too. Through Aaron Matei, Max Blumenthal seemed to kind of want to take a step back from it, but it's whatever. It's just the overall point. It's how do you bring people in when this is the shit they see going on? It's only going to split more and more and more shit apart. And it's causing the left to implode. Now, understand this. There's a lot of other people out there who are going to be reaching to grab for those votes. I'm sure the Libertarian Party would probably like to take a few of them in, but I'll be honest with you. I maintain my independent status, not a libertarian, just because the Libertarian Party has something to prove to me. I voted for them this last election because I damn sure wasn't going to vote for one of the duopoly, and I thought the Green Party was doing some sketchy shit. So I voted for the Libertarian Party just because, I had more in agreement with them than I did with pretty much anyone else at the time. And I'm not going to do like the whole write-in type thing. I aside from a complete protest, and I'm not shaming anyone who did, you do you, but I just don't see much use in that concept. I'd prefer to try. If I can't find someone on the ballot that I could at least find some common ground with and vote for, I just assume not go vote. Because then you can't say I'm responsible for any fucking thing at that point, right? But I would prefer to try to go vote, and I'd prefer to try to find someone who I think would be the best option and go vote for that person. Okay? Whether they win or not. But the libertarians have got to really get their shit together. They, even though I voted for the libertarians, disappointed the absolute fucking shit out of me because we had a shitty ass senator up for grabs in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham was on the fucking chopping block. And the only competition that the man had was a fucking Democrat hack who used to be a fucking lobbyist and a guy from the Constitution Party. Are you fucking shitting me? You got the Libertarian Party, ballot access in 50 motherfucking states, and the Constitution Party is the only real fucking, option to run against Lindsey fucking Graham. You're in a red state, and there's a lot of red voters who are tired of Lindsey fucking Graham. So this is idealistic opportunity to get something for a third party because they're not going to vote for the Democrat, even after all the fucking money that was being pumped in to that guy's campaign. I don't even remember what his name was. His name's eluding me right at the moment. But he was being backed by Chuck Schumer. He was being backed by all these Democrats. And good God, at the money they pumped into that man's campaign to try to help him get elected. And Lindsey Graham still whipped his ass. On the debate stage, Lindsey Graham didn't do the best job. There was so much money. Like, Jesus, I can't remember this guy's name, but I just remember seeing that there was like commercial after fucking commercial on television, right? They were trying to get this shit put together, like to get this guy elected. And it was just, I saw like 6 of the same damn commercials in a row for that guy. And he still got whipped by Lindsey Graham, who a lot of South Carolinians, or South Carolinians, I guess, are not the biggest fans of. So someone who could make that pitch to that more right-leaning type voter and actually be a real alternative could have done pretty fucking well. But the Libertarian Party sat on their fucking hands. So I maintain my status as an independent. I understand there's not going to be very many independent candidates, so I'll probably have to pick from what's available. But, the Libertarians have really got to tighten their shit up here. So they might try to go after some of these people on the progressive side of the aisle or whatever. They might make a pitch for them. The Green Party's going to make a pitch for them. The Democratic Party's going to make a pitch for them. If the fucking screwed up People's Party ever gets some kind of a ball rolling of some sort, they might make a pitch for them. And then I've also talked to people like Chad Wilson, who I see he's actually in my chat right now. Chad, I've been meaning to reach out to you here because I'm starting to book guests to come on the show, and I would like to try to get Chad on for an interview. I've actually had some requests for that. But I understand like they're looking at an independent Green Party. The biggest issue, though, is right now, and this is what's going to happen. When I talk about all these factions, do you realize how many different directions that vote is being pulled apart in? This is why I keep advocating, like for third party stuff, that we've got to find some sort of unity. We got to find some kind of a unity coalition, find a platform where we can get so many groups together to agree on so many different things. I would say a list of 5 issues, and use that long enough to start taking the power structure away. You've got to be able to do things like that. If you don't, you're doing nothing but splitting the vote apart. That's a huge criticism I got of the MPP shit, is when you listen to it, when you listen to them, they keep talking about left, progressive, left, progressive, left, progressive, left, progressive. It's a broken fucking record for them. You're not going to win anyone in the Rust Belt who leans a little more to the fucking right, constantly saying left, progressive values, lefty, progressive. What the fuck? You think you're going to get the Second Amendment guy to go along with this shit? Hell fucking no. He ain't going to give a damn about any of that. And I see in the chat right here, EPS Tomcat 11 about reaching out to Kim Iverson. She's hard to contact, but I've kind of, tried to make those connections in the past. But yeah, I would love to sit down and talk to Kim Iverson one of these days. I know a good friend of mine, Reed Coverdale, he's had her on his show. And of course, a guy who I go a ways back with, Israel from Big Talk Little Talk. I think he does all that work for her over there now. But back to what I was saying, these factions, when they split up, it's only dividing shit further and further apart. And you got these figureheads who sit kind of at the top of that indie media structure. Obviously, TYT is at the tippy top. Their viewers don't reflect it right now. But even if you don't watch them, you know who they are. There's probably a lot of people who also don't watch these YouTube shows, but still know who they are. And so from the outside looking in, anyone sees the people who are supposed to be prominently involved in this lefty scene, and they're bickering and it's fighting and this, who wants to get involved? And of course, all the people who follow suit, then they divide themselves apart. Those votes will then be split between multiple camps. And then what happens from there? I tell you what happens from there. And this is going to be the most fucked up part of the whole thing. Because if you're a progressive and you're on the left, then you really ain't going to like the outcome. Because all of this shit where you've got fake Me Too allegations, you've got people trying to defend themselves, mutual friends of both sides, then have to get hopped into the whole fucking situation. Guess what happens? It looks like a shit show. It gets treated like a shit show. And you will get probably, unless some kind of a third party gets this unity thing I keep talking about together and gets something done serious and quickly, and that's going to look hard to do at this point in time, you get Republicans. Because if this shit lasts through 2022 to 2024, there is an orange man who probably has a vendetta, and I also predicted this shit right the fuck here on my channel and on other people's channel last fucking year. What I said was, if Joe Biden won, that the loyal Trump base would not believe he won fairly. And that they would believe the shit was stolen from them, it was taken, that the country was finally being made great again, and then it was just ripped right out from underneath them because of those corrupt, swampy politicians. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Go back. If you don't think I said this shit, go back and watch my old videos or go check out where I was on other people's channel. I don't know if they're still on Big Talk Little Talk because he about wiped his platform out. But I think I did a few on Frank Analysis. But go back and watch those old videos. I said this shit over a year ago. I said this was going to happen. And that his base would be fired the fuck up for round 2. Or I guess at this point, round 3. Because they won round 1 in 2016. Round 2, they rigged the game. They put the brass knucks under the boxing gloves. Whatever fucking analogy you want to use. They figured that they were in trouble, so they cheated. And what was the fucking narrative they ran with? That they cheated. You can believe it or you cannot believe it. Whatever. Whatever. You make up your own mind which side of the aisle that you're on as far as that argument is concerned. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds of that because YouTube don't like that topic. But it's just the point. They're fired up. You want to know how people feel about Trump throwing his hat back in the ring again? Go watch that fucking shit he sat down with Sean Hannity on, where he's already said he's made his mind up, but won't say what it is yet. And the people just cheer like, yeah, please run again. They fucking want that man to run again. And I got news for you. If he runs again, he's going to dominate the fucking Republican platform. If he runs, I put it at about, 98% chance he will win that primary. And when he wins that primary, he will be the nominee that goes on. And who the fuck do you put up against him then? Who do you put up against him then? Joe Biden, I don't think is going to run. Who's the fucking replacement? Kamala Harris. And again, with all this infighting going on right now, I don't think the Jimmy Dore camp was voting for the Democrat last time around. I don't know what secular talk's going to do, but it's just the point. This infighting on the left, the progressive shit is going to go out the fucking window. What you're going to get more and more and more and more and more of now are the corporate Democrat candidates. So if you had some kind of a hope that the 2024 nominee was going to be one of these progressive people, how do you propose on getting them there? Because the core people at the top of the YouTube conversation are already split the fuck up, and they're probably going to have different opinions. So when you get a progressive candidate that you want to somehow, if you think overtaking the Democrat Party has a snowball's chance in hell of happening, the only fucking way you're going to get that shit done, the only way is when you have so many prominent voices out there, like what they tried with Force the Vote, really going hard on that fact and saying, look, we need to get this person in, pitching how great of a candidate they are. You ain't gonna fucking have that anymore. You lost that shit. Why? Because your whole fucking argument about people like Biden can't win was proven wrong. Biden fucking won. You didn't need Bernie Sanders to beat Donald Trump. And you didn't get Bernie Sanders. And Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. That's the optics of it. And now the infighting has started. Shit that I predicted, shit that is finally fucking happening. And how do you think you're going to fix that going into 2022 or 2024? No, all you're going to have, I'm going to call it fucking now, unless some fucking miracle act of God, whatever the fuck you believe in out there, just natural events, what the fuck ever. Whatever you believe in to be the case, unless some huge thing changes between now and 2024, you ain't gonna have this unified indie media front pushing a candidate for that reason. Who's gonna be the one to take up those reins? This is no disrespect to people like Slow News Day or the Convo Couch or Frank Analysis. Love those guys, love their channel. But they're telling you you can't vote your way out of this. So they're not going to be the ones to try to take up and support one candidate because they don't think you can fix this system through elections anyway. They're advocating for opting out of the whole fucking thing, and that elections is pretty much just a lot of kabuki theater. You're not going to get any. So who's going to take up these fucking reins now that these three on the quote unquote left have split the fuck apart and went for each other's jugular? Who's going to unify to push this progressive candidate forward? I don't fucking see anyone. I don't fucking see anyone. So who's going to do it? I mean, again, this is no disrespect to those guys I just mentioned, but they have a belief that this system is far too corrupted. You can't run a single person to change it. They don't believe in that argument. So they're not going to try and take those reins and push, Tulsi Gabbard. And I see DJ Elf7, he would be the ones that take that reign. Yeah, but the problem here, Elf, and this is the issue. YouTube is working against us. How many people, look, I'm not saying what we do isn't important because it is, but look in my video right now and see how many people are watching this fucking video. I got 26 viewers right now, dude. To win some kind of a national election, the only thing you might have some kind of fucking prayer for is a state election. And I don't think YouTube is going to make much difference in that. You're going to have to actually get out in your community and talk to people to change that. But as far as the push goes, you got to have a big fucking audience if you're planning on doing something like the fucking president. And YouTube is working against us just that easy. I see comments again, music artists can get hot and big overnight. Entirely different field. You know why? Because music is part of the shit they use to propagandize people. And again, listen to the fucking popular music today. It's fucking garbage. It's fucking garbage. It's lyrical bullshit, half of it. There's no fucking substance there. And the only people who have some kind of a, provocative message are people like Tom McDonald. You say Obama got hot quick. Obama was fucking establishment. You don't understand. If you're establishment, absolutely you're going to get hot quick. When you're pushing back too hard, they've taken notice. It's just not feasible, in my opinion, that us and us alone are going to be able to grow our platform so big that we could take those reins and do it. I mean, I would love to. Hey, if we can, fucking absolutely wonderful. I hope we do. I hope we do. I don't see it happening because right now the platform we got to use to do this shit is so fucking skewed, man. It's so fucking skewed. And those guys, even though they don't embody all of my beliefs and my views, they were at the top of the progressive shit. And furthermore, I want to make one other difference here, Ed. I'm talking about who's going to push the quote unquote progressive candidate. I am not lumped into quote unquote progressives. I don't consider myself a progressive. Do I like progress? Absolutely. But I think what you associate progressives with has become way too fucking toxic because look what's going on in a quote unquote progressive indie media shit right now. All this infighting. People are going to associate progressives with that. The only people who don't are the people who are kind of already in that mix well enough to know better. But the average person from the outside looking in ain't going to know that difference. What I want is a unity movement, not a progressive movement, not a fucking damn, liberal movement, not a conservative movement. I want a unity movement because there's so much shit that both sides have an agreement, don't talk about, and don't fucking realize because mainstream media wants to keep you fucking divided. And right now, all these camps and factions on the left being split up, their vote's going to get pulled multiple different ways. You got the People's Party trying to, build something up, and Jimmy Dore, at least right now, is still trying to pull people toward Nick Brana's People's Party. Kyle Kulinski is going to tell you Democrats, at the very least, not vote or whatever, do you. So they could go People's Party, they could go Green Party, they could go Democrat Party, and then Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian and the rest of that, fucking crowd over there are going to do what they do best and tell you, oh, you got to vote for the Democrats. If you don't vote for the Democrats, you're going to get a Republican. You don't want a Republican, right? Yeah. Hey, you know what happens if you don't vote for the Democrats? You get a Republican? Of course. Yeah, you get a fucking Republican. You can't do that. What are you fucking stupid? You can't do that. They're going to do what they fucking do best. They're going to sheepdog people in the fucking Democrat Party. And then, unfortunately, more than likely, for once, Cenk Uygur will be fucking right. Republicans will win. So if you hate Republicans with a fucking passion, you're going to get a fucking red wave, my friend. You know why? Because as fucked up as the Republicans are, why don't you tell me where this bullshit's going on in the fucking Republican Party? The Republican Party is fucking unified. They believe they were screwed. They believe that the shit was rigged. They believe that it was fucking stolen. They believe that Trump and they're bought and sold. They think Trump was doing such great fucking things, even though, as my grandpa once said, they do great wonders in shit cucumbers. They weren't fucking doing shit, but their base believes it. Their base is bought and sold. And meanwhile, you got all this fucking shit going on the left over here. The right is going to be unified with a fucking vengeance. A fucking vengeance. I said it over a year ago. I said, they will be unified with a vengeance. All this fucking woke shit that's pissing them off, the shit in the streets, all the anti-cop fucking rhetoric that's going on right now, all these protests, rioting, looting, crime on the rise, defund the police, the election was stolen. This fucking shit is getting the right wing fired up. Meanwhile, the left wing is fucking doing this shit. And those who aren't involved in this, that are still Democrat Party or what the fuck ever, are going to be looking at it and going, well, Joe Biden sure is doing great shit for us. Wow. What has he done? He puts Kamala in charge of the border. She don't even go to the right fucking place. She goes somewhere else. He makes us look like a fucking idiot every time he can. Wow. Whew, we've made some real fucking progress in 4 years. Jeez. I see Natalie Chavez here. Republican Party is definitely unified, but they are so propagandized and believe lies. The right wing are more sheepdogs than the left. Sure. True enough. True enough. I'm not going to say that they're not. But the point is, whose side are you going to pull them over to? Let's say, let's just fucking say right now, okay, that you got the right in a room and you had 30 minutes to make your case on who they need to vote for instead. Don't vote for Trump if he wins again, because he fucking let you down and you just don't even realize that he let you down. So now's your case. Who are you going to tell them to vote for instead? The Libertarian Party? Probably. That's about the closest thing to a Republican. But what if you want to pull them to this progressive side of the aisle? Because there's a lot of people that I see in the chat right now who keep mentioning Green Party instead. Well, for one, Green Party is already weaker, or even this new independent Green Party. They already have less ballot access than the Libertarian Party. And then you got the Jimmy Dore people who are pitching this People's Party. So who are you going to pull them to? Because guess what? Once you get into this progressive circle, you don't think some of this toxicity that's floating around on Twitter and YouTube between the fucking channels, the fake fucking faux outrage, the fake Me Too shit, you don't think they're going to start seeing that shit and they're going to go, this is what the fuck you want me to leave the Republican Party for? Like, I agree with a lot of shit that I've been hearing, whether it was because they were propagandized or not. Hey, they agree on the fucking gun issue. They agree on the censorship of social media. Okay, fair enough. People on the left call some of this censorship shit out too. But look how they're infighting. Look how all this fucking shit, it looks like a fucking shit show. Who you going to get them to vote for? Who you get them to vote for? I don't see anyone yet who's put this sort of unity thing together. So right now, what you have is a unified right and an imploded left. That's about what you got. That's about what you got. You know, I see DJL7 again. We are doing it now. Well, I hope we can get something done, Ed. But the problem is, whoever wants to put this thing together needs to learn some damn lessons here from this MPP bullshit. You can't put a platform together and just say, I want Medicare for all. I want free student college. I want a Green New Deal. I want, all this other fucking shit, and leave it at that and think you've got a people's party. You don't. You fucking don't. Now, there's a lot of people who are going to say, well, Medicare for all fucking sucks. Look, you could say it's because they've been propagandized. Sure. I'm kind of in Reed Coverdale's camp. He doesn't, I think, want it at all. He's got to the point he doesn't want government involved in anything. Me and him disagree on that a little bit. Where we do find common ground is that the current fucking government can't handle this shit. So, yeah, if you put Medicare for all in right now, the current government would just fuck it up like they did Social Security. It's going bankrupt. It's literally a Ponzi scheme right now because they have mismanaged the shit for so many fucking years. So what do you think they would do to healthcare? They fucked up the VA. They can't fix this shit. So the current government would just fuck it up. And so understand the right, even if they're not propagandized, like, you really think the fucking people in charge right now could do this shit worth a damn? What the fuck is wrong with you? You're not going to win them. You know what you left out of that conversation? You left out anything about jobs. You might have mentioned it in the Green New Deal, but what if that doesn't help them? I mean, the argument is it would help a lot of people. So we won't even focus on jobs. So set jobs aside. I think we could put it in, but we'll set it aside. Won't put a focal point on jobs. Okay. You didn't mention the Second Amendment. You didn't mention anything about gun. And guess what? The South loves guns. And I got news for you. People believe that they want to take our guns. And it ain't just a political thing. In a lot of cases, guns are kind of a cultural thing in the South. So if you kind of don't come out pro Second Amendment, that's a big issue for a lot of people who lean more on the right. You ain't gonna fucking win them. I'm here to tell you, you won't win them. Take it from someone who grew up in this neck of the woods, as we like to say. If you believe taking the guns will be okay, whatever, we'll just reduce some violent crime. You know what they're going to fucking say? Fuck you. You know, one of Tulsi Gabbard. I see people saying they like Tulsi Gabbard. I like Tulsi Gabbard. You know what one of her biggest weaknesses was? Guns. It was hard. Like, I could pitch what Tulsi Gabbard said to a lot of fucking people I know who are right wing. And you had them up to the point when you got around to guns. Soon as you brought up her stance on guns, oh shit, no, she's just one of these damn Democrat politicians. No, she wants to come take my fucking guns. What the fuck is wrong with these people? You lost them. You fucking lost them. I'm just telling you, you lost them. Okay? That is a problem. So you got to bring that in. Certain other things no one's taking into consideration. How fucked up is the education system? I brought this up many, many times on other people's show, on my show. I don't think people take how bad the education system is into enough. I think it's very underrated. I think it's very underrated what's going on right now with the education system, and no one's putting enough effort into this fucking system. And the ones who do seem to think, oh, just give it some more fucking money. They'll take care of everything. So when your engine blows a head gasket, overheats and warps the fucking valves, the solution is to just put more oil in it? Fuck no. You got to rebuild the damn engine. This system is fucked up right now. You got to rebuild it. And pumping more money into it ain't doing but wasting your fucking money. The people in charge are knucking futs. They got every damn thing bass-ackwards, and it's just completely fucked up. You got to take a class to dissect frogs, but personal finance is optional. Push people to go chase 4-year liberal arts degrees that there's not a lot of jobs waiting on for, or you could have done what someone like Reed Coverdale did, and you'd be making damn near $100,000 a year right now, and there is a fucking job market needed for people in transportation, driving trucks. It's a fucking necessity that we need, but ain't nobody doing it. You know why? Because this education system says, oh, you go to college, read some fucking old poetry, study some ancient English, read a little fucking Shakespeare, understand some psychology shit, and then you will have an ass load of fucking debt when you come out. But you'll be able to be successful. No, and then you come out, you got an ass load of debt, and you're fucking working a 9 to 5, making about $10 to $14 an hour, maybe, if you're lucky in some cases. Wow. Fucking productive. Whoo. And free public college doesn't fix that fucking problem. You know why? Because then you're just making it free for people to still go learn a bunch of over-processed pork fat bullshit that can't fucking do shit in society. It doesn't teach you how to manage your money very well. It doesn't teach you why you shouldn't get indebted to the fucking big banks and try to live within your means. It doesn't teach you a fucking skill that you can take out into the world and apply and get a better fucking job than fast food or retail. It's not teaching you this shit. And the only people who are doing it are people who's probably had their parents or some other influential people, or maybe they just made their mind up on their own and said, I want to fucking do that. But if you listen to a lot of the damn teachers in school, you don't go down that fucking path. And they damn sure aren't putting the system together to try to encourage it. So again, you're leaving shit like that out when you hear this MPP shit. Who you going to pull these fucking Republican people over to? Because they care about shit like that. They care about shit like that. What a lot of people don't think about with the MAGA crowd is that the MAGA crowd isn't just a bunch of white racists. It's literally right below your nose. It's right under your nose. It's in the fucking name. Make America great again. And the critics say, well, for certain factions, America was never, quote unquote, great. That's true. But if you look across the board, things were better all the way around. The dollar went further. The poor were less poor. The rich were less rich. And now you're in a system where you're continuing for the poor to get poorer and the rich to get richer. So even if a lot of the racial shit hadn't been fixed, I think it's already plateaued, and I think it's actually going fucking backwards right now. That's my opinion. It's going fucking backwards at this point. I think we made progress, and now we're losing that fucking progress. But as far as income shit goes, we made a lot of progress in that at one point in time after World War II, and we fucking lost it. That shit's gone. So you can argue that for certain people, America was never great, but it was still better, and they're thinking about the time when it was better. They're thinking back to a day where I had that factory job, where I had unions watching out for my back, and not everyone in the household had to go to work or work 2 jobs to make ends meet and be stressed to the gills. People were living longer. People were living happier. Politics weren't dominating the conversation as bad as they are today. There's just so much shit. They're looking back on a time when they were happier. Things at least appeared to be better. And that is what they want. And who are you going to pull them to right now when the only things you want to run on are what the quote-unquote progressives deem top of that list? You're going to pull progressives. It's kind of natural, right? It's because it's just almost like you're not lending an ear to the other side at all. You don't think their topics matter enough. So again, if this does not happen and you don't get some kind of a serious party who's willing to listen to both sides, find the common ground and run on those issues, if you don't get that, then you're going to wind up next election with Republicans, because the left is going into fucking shambles and the right has a vendetta and a score to settle. And when someone has a fucking score to settle, they don't let that shit go. And things are only going to look worse and worse, probably, to piss the right off more and more between now and 2024. So they're going to have a fucking mission. If you've watched that Cat Williams stand-up where he's talking about white people had a secret on election day for Trump. Oh yeah. That skit he acted out, how the voters were just standing in line like, that's what the fuck they're going to be doing this next election. I'm just here to tell you. I want the third party shit. But if somebody doesn't get this fucking ball rolling and get their act together, you're going to get red wave in 2022 and 2024 potentially. I'm calling it now. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm fucking wrong. And if I'm wrong, you'll see me making a video saying, damn, I was a dumb redneck on this day in 2021. I'll make a video. I'm not above saying when I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. And you know why? Because a lot of shit I said was going to start happening a year ago, starting to fucking unfold now. The popularity of the Biden administration is going right fucking downhill, just like I figured it would. And now the left is splitting itself into different factions going this way, and this way. And that shit ain't going to help promote no one to go against a Republican in 2024 when there's so much division and infighting. Doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. When it's that fucking split, there's not going to be a massive group of people with big audiences to push a candidate. It's going to start getting pushed in different directions. And here's the other thing, Ed, as you really put it, okay? If it's us, understand, even if we do build a big platform, they're still going to be competing against us because we're not advocating for the People's Party. And Jimmy Dore very well could be at that point. TYT will be just like, vote for Democrat or abstain from the election and don't go vote at all. And everyone's like, oh, I don't see a good choice on the Democrat, so I guess I'll sit at home. And then Jane Huger will be telling people to go vote for the Democrat. Meanwhile, if there is a fucking unity party, we're going to be trying to tell you to come out and vote for that. And we might pull some from the right and some from the left. But what happens? What happens? It's not like we're just going to eliminate those guys, and they're still going to have big audiences. And as it stands right now, unless divine intervention gets involved here, we're probably not going to be as big of a platform as they are when that time comes. But even if we are, and even if we're close, they're still not going to be advocating for what we're going for. I think the only one you're going to convince out of those three might be Jimmy Dore, but he's already seemed to have invested his chips and bet with the MPP, which we're not doing. So you're going to have all that competition. In other words, once again, you're going to have split division. And the only group who seems to be heading into this thing full steam ahead without the division and are most definitely fucking unified because they have a score to settle are the Trump MAGA voters. They're pissed. They got a score to settle. And as it stands right now, I wouldn't be the damnedest bit surprised if Trump runs and he wins. Now, if he decides not to run, understand this. I think you will see not Trump, but a Trump 2.0. Something else I predicted. I don't think that the successor to Donald Trump is going to be Pence, Romney, or any of these fucking guys. They're going to go with someone that they think can probably capitalize on that Trump feel. Who's going to be able to work the crowd that way? And if it ain't Trump, they're going to be looking for a close replacement for Trump. Some soft-spoken guy like Mike Pence, as we say, ain't going to cut the mustard. That's my opinion. So that being said, we're going to move on now to some comments here and some questions from the viewers in the chat. But before we get to that, I'm going to encourage everyone, make sure you come back at 9 p.m. tonight. I'm going to have my video with Reed Coverdale, the naturalist capitalist. We're going to be talking about the capitalism. There's going to be some pushback, obviously, Reed Coverdale being in the Libertarian Party and me not being this huge anti-capitalist guy. Title of video, Misconceptions on Capitalism. So definitely check it out. Might agree with it, might disagree with it. And if you don't agree with some of the takes, make sure you express why. You can drop the comments down below and give pushback to what we say in the video. So that being said, I'm going to start taking some stuff here from the audience. If there's some questions you want to ask, start dropping these chats down below. Until we get some of that, I'll be reading some stuff here from the audience. Get one right here. It's like we defeated the Joker and now we've got Bane. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of putting it. Bane, to me, I think I would probably have gone with we defeated the Joker and instead got a Ra's al Ghul. And the reason I would say Ra's al Ghul here is just because, Ra's is about half dead any fucking way and is only staying alive thanks to the Lazarus pits. I would say he's probably a lot better representation of this than Bane is for Joe Biden. Let's see here. Let's see. Natalie Chavez. I met Tulsi like twice. Was even in one of her videos. Someone mentioned this to me too. Obviously, I like Tulsi, but what's going on with this podcast she's supposed to be launching? Like, I don't know what you guys really know about that right now, but I remember hearing about this thing towards the end of last year, first of this year. Tulsi's going to be launching a podcast. Like, what happened? Like, she launched the whole locals thing. Everyone's a part of locals. I got involved in that. And then all of a sudden we hear all this shit's coming down, and then it just gone, nothing. Like, the last thing I really saw out of her, aside from little tweets and stuff she posts on locals, is like going on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm pretty sure she was even pitching her podcast on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? And then just like nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever came of it. So I'm curious what's going on there. I know she has been in some talks. I will not give the details. I'm not going to spill the beans and steal someone else's thunder. I would love to have Tulsi Gabbard on the show one of these days. But as of right now, I have tried to reach out to her a few times and I haven't gotten anything back. But I do know some other people who are friends of the channel who have made contact with her, and they will be trying to set something up, trying to get an interview on. Looks like if it comes, it might be coming around the fall time or something like that. But it's in the works. It's in the works. So you'll know when it comes down the pipe. But I don't want to spill anyone else's secrets here. I see Natalie Chavez, OMG, spill it. I'm not going to do that. Now, if it was somebody I didn't give a damn about and I found it out or something, I'd be like, oh, yeah, they're going to be going on so-and-so's. But, it's a pretty close friend of the channel here, and it's his news to break, so I'm going to let him be the one to do it whenever he gets ready. Gentlemen, don't kiss and tell. Oh, that's a pretty good one. DJL7. Yeah, Tulsi did it for a long time, but does she want to fight? I think she wants to have a kid. Possibly. I remember for a while there was this whole thing about Gabbard Amash for 2024. And that shit's kind of just fizzled way on out too now. I remember Reed used to tweet out about it, and I tweeted out about it a few times too, but that's fizzled out. I think some people like Reed and whatnot even kind of fell out from Tulsi again when she came out like with some of her vaccine stances and things like that, and wasn't really too thrilled with some of that. And I think that kind of cooled off some of that hype about Tulsi joining the Libertarian Party. Let's see. Brian Aguilar. I never listened to her podcast. Well, she doesn't have one yet. She said she was launching a podcast, but it's never officially hit yet. So, Ben Riley. What are your thoughts on Andrew Yang? At this point, I think he's a sellout. I think he sold out to the establishment. I kind of was more of a fan when he ran for president just because I think he made certain points that I liked and I agreed with. But at this point, I'm not a fan. A lot of what I heard he was doing in New York, obviously DJL7 did a lot of coverage on that. And I think he really just dropped a huge ball there. Apparently, he even had what was it, Dave Chappelle offering to do free stand-up to help promote him, and he turned that shit fucking down. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's almost like he's just controlled opposition or some shit, right? So That's a red flag to me. Let's see. Azurius Blaze. I hope I'm not butchering that first name, by the way, but it's amazing how Dore stands think dragging everyone to this Dore/TYT feud is something the left wants or needs. To be fair, it's TYT who initiated this whole fucking shit show. Dore was doing his due diligence and calling out their bullshit. Okay. So when they did that, I mean, I think Dore was doing the right thing. TYT being a bunch of little petty fucking bitches, of course, had to try to expose Jimmy Dore. Well, you know, that ain't fucking helping nothing. When they exposed, when they took those shots, sent that DM, Jimmy Dore just got ahead of the whole fucking thing. And then, of course, it's morphed into this shit. And again, Jimmy Dore has every right, and I agree with him, to try and defend himself from TYT. TYT is without doubt just smearing a lot of fucking people. I mean, from Assange to Jimmy Dore to Glenn Greenwald. Who the fuck is next? Who the fuck is next? Okay. So, but yeah, I think a lot of what it's morphed into now that Kyle's involved in the back and forth, and then you've got my channel talking about it, the Vanguard talking about it, Frank Analysis talking a little bit about it. He's been lucky enough to actually have Jimmy Dore on to talk about it. You've got Primo Radical talking about it. I mean, at this point, it's turned into something more than just a defense of Me Too. And that's what I mean by it split the left a lot. Ben Riley, Dave would have gotten Yang a lot of votes, but anyway, yeah, he might have actually fucking won if he had enough sense to take that. Brian Aguilar, I agree with Yang on defund the police. Everything else, I don't agree. Here's the problem, okay? I see why a lot of people say defund the police, but I've never been in line with that. I think there are a lot of bad cops. I think the system that we got right now is breeding a climate for bad cops because there's so much fucking venom toward law enforcement. All the sensible heads in the room look at that and say, yep, time to retire, boys. I've been on the force 20 years. I've seen a lot of shit, and it ain't the environment for me no more because I'm seriously in danger of just getting shot and killed for no fucking reason when I go to work. There's always been that chance, but it's way more fucking prominent now. Right here in my backyard, had a cop. There was a bad fucking shootout in Spartanburg over at Cleveland Park. One cop was shot, went to the hospital. Another cop, whatever took place over there was so damn bad with this fucking shootout. It just got so mentally stressful that the cop, one, not the one that got shot, but somebody else couldn't fucking handle it, basically had a mental breakdown, went home and just drank himself into oblivion all weekend, got drunk as a fucking skunk, and he wound up so drunk, he and his wife got in an altercation or something because he was just basically shit-faced and mentally fucked, and he wound up in jail. And based on people I know who know this cop, he wasn't that kind of guy. He was just mind fucked and drunk off his ass because he couldn't mentally handle whatever the fuck he encountered. And so that's why I say, just like with veterans, going through a lot of this shit will mentally screw with you. It's a lot of a stressful situation there that you're putting yourself through on a day-to-day basis to try to collect the paycheck benefits and go home and feed your family and supposed to serve your community. So you're attracting, when you create such a hostile environment, you're attracting people who get a thrill from confrontation. They're like, well, this is the fucking job for me. I get to go crack someone's head open. And when it becomes hard to find cops, more and more of these fuckers get into the force, unfortunately. They can pass the physical test and the mental upfront test or whatever, but they could bullshit those questions if they're halfway smart. Then they get into a field where they got a badge, a gun, and some authority, and they can wave it around and show how big their fucking dick is. Okay, and that's what the fuck you get. Okay, so when you look at that shit, it's a breeding ground for a lot of that. And just like service members who go through war, people who are out there having to shoot people, it's gonna fuck with your head. So defund the police perhaps there should be more money allocated or at least reallocated in the current system so that cops have better access to more therapists, psychiatrists, mental therapy to help them through this kind of shit. Because after so long, it's going to bottle rocket in fucking anyone. If it doesn't, you got nerves of goddamn steel. It eventually will catch up to about any damn one. You see so much shit. And I've said this for like the troops coming back home too. We need to support these people. We need to make sure they got access to things like that. We need to make sure the cops got better training and a better understanding of their community for sure. And speaking of defund the police, and I'll move on to some other stuff here. This is something else that a lot of the left keep screwing the pooch on here, so to speak. Okay. Kyle Kulinski, you go back and watch Kyle's video because remember, you're getting defund the police now. The right has been capitalizing on this longer than you realize. What do I mean by that? Going into the 2018 primaries, Kyle Kulinski went on Fox News to debate some guy, Chris DeGaulle or something like that, right? And at the time, there was a push on the left to abolish ICE. To abolish ICE. And what did Chris DeGaulle say? That the left is pushing to abolish law enforcement. And Kyle's like, abolish law enforcement? You just made that up. What are you talking about? He pushed back like no one wanted to abolish law enforcement. Fast forward a year or two, the fuck is this shit? Because there's people now who want to abolish the police. Jimmy Dore has pretty much advocated for it. I think Kyle Kulinski advocates for full abolishment, but he's been pushing defund the police. So guess who you just made look correct? The big old tubby dumbass on Fox News. You said to his face, no one's calling for that, and then 2 years later, you fucking are. Or even if you don't want a complete abolishment of law enforcement, you're using a term, defund the police, which has many different interpretations. Some want budgets cut. Others want cops going bye-bye. Well, now he looks vindicated. That's been the biggest problem for a lot of these talking heads on the right that certain people call stupid and shit. Well, a lot of people say that, but then you get these guys, when they say it, and then at the time everyone says, oh, how stupid and how nutty does that sound? And then they're only vindicated about a year or two later, and then you actually made them look smart. That doesn't help you very much now, does it? You made it just look like they were ahead of their time, like they saw what was coming before everyone else did. And really, that isn't the case. They really are that fucking dumb. You just didn't make them look that way a year or two later. Okay. Ben Riley, the issue is that cops aren't federal like the FBI. It's up to states and cities. Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. And that's why there's got to be kind of an activism push. But I think you need to pick the words more carefully and make the stance more clear. This is what we want. It's kind of like with the Black Lives Matter. I saw some stuff about Black Lives Matter. I'm all in favor of spreading a message about how black people are a higher rate to be shot by cops and things like that. And that black lives do matter. But unfortunately, I think when you lump yourself into that one term and you look at a lot of what that group has gotten themselves involved in, donating back to the Democrat Party who passed the fucking crime bill, or the damn leaders going out and buying multiple fucking houses, it only hurts your cause. So you need to be careful on how you pitch your message. Brian Aguilar, Lone Wolf Podcast. Have you thought of making a Discord server? I have been suggested to do that by a few people, and I'm actually thinking about go ahead and doing it. There's been some people pushing me to do that. Probably the biggest reason I haven't is just because I don't do that much social media, honestly. I kind of just do what I have to do to promote the show. And look, I'm even getting slack on getting some of these videos over to Daily Motion and Rumble. Luckily, Odyssey just ports every damn thing over that I put up here. It just ports itself over to Odyssey. But I got to go back and between doing this, editing these videos, making these videos, trying to tweet some stuff out about them, I just don't get to all these social media stuff when I have a full-time job and then other personal things going on that's not involved here or with work. I've got cars I work on in my spare time. I've got a wife who does want to see me outside of this room every once in a while. I've got pets, and then I try to get out and just go do some things too. So I'm a pretty busy guy, but I have been told that making a Discord would be a good move to make. So I'm probably going to be looking into that. Let's see. Les Albro, the police have way too many responsibilities. Legalize drugs, legalize sex work. Don't ask them for counselors. Oh, don't ask them to be counselors and therapists. They don't need all that money. Then they can be better allocated. Yeah, I would agree with that to an extent. For example, Spartanburg County Police, they don't really have that many scandals. And they've got different departments that handle each thing. Whereas Spartanburg City Police, you got to be like forensics guy and traffic ticket guy and domestic, response guy. And you don't do that shit with city. Like city, or excuse me, with county, you don't do it with county. If there's a wreck, highway patrol responds, which is state troopers. Spartanburg County doesn't respond. But if you're in city limits, Spartanburg City has to respond. So I'm all in favor of that. I think, getting each, group allocated to do their job is a much better idea. So let's see. Chad Wilson, there should be zero outrage with reframing an issue in a different language in order for someone to understand it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's see. DJL7, it's not so much about funding, but accountability. Yeah, and I agree with that too. I think cops need to be held more accountable. But to be fair, funding is an issue just because of how the funding is being spent. That's kind of what I've been talking about a lot of people don't understand like finance and why finance is important and how keeping up with your money is important. Like this money is being allocated to cops to buy all sorts of shit that might not be necessary. Night vision, like they're basically turning them into fucking inner city armies. Do you need that? And how much training are you really fucking getting to train you on how to use this shit properly? Like, okay, you know how to use night vision goggles. You know how to knock doors in with battering rams. You know this martial art and that martial art and all this fuck. Like, you get trained in all this fucking shit and you can kick some serious fucking ass. But how well do you know the community you're working in? Do you understand the people you're intended to police? Do you understand their sense of humor? Do you understand their way of life? You might not even grew up in that fucking town. You could be from the Bronx of New fucking York, moved down here, became a cop, and know shit about how we South Carolinians get down. And you're like a fish out of water. You're fucking uncomfortable. You need to know the community you're in. How much money is being spent on training like that? So that's where the money does become an issue. That's where you do need to have some funding either cut or reallocated to better fucking things. Okay. Let's see. DJL7, cops get turned into tax collectors of the poor and the middle class. Yeah, I guess in a way, even though they don't come to collect your taxes, they just come to make sure that when you don't pay your taxes, your shit gets taken. Not money, but your other possessions, I guess. So yeah, that's a pretty good point. Ben Riley, I think because of the Constitution, actually, I don't think the feds have jurisdiction over state law enforcement. So it depends on where you are. Yeah, and I don't believe in just like abolishing completely the local law enforcement and then having federal cops. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if the cops are completely handled by the federal government, What happens when the federal government reaches that point where they start to put all these strict ass gun laws in place, trying to take more guns away from the average fucking American? There's like, just like you hear the right bitch about sanctuary cities where illegal immigrants can stay without fear of deportation because they don't want ICE agents coming in and deporting people out of the country. You could have, and you've already got some places where people have basically said, look, we're not going to enforce this federal gun shit if it passes. We're fine with people having AR-15s. You can sell them here, you can have them here, and we're not going to make you turn them in. So if the local police can uphold things like that, because that's what the community has values in, if you turn it over to the federal side and the federal government says take them, what do you think federal police are going to do? They're going to say take them. Okay. Let's see. DJL7, I mean that the tickets and summons they write are predominantly carried out upon the poor and the middle class, and through the fines generated, they raise funds. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. In that sense, if you want to look at it as being a tax collector, absolutely. Yeah. They ticket people for fucking quotas and town revenue. It's how they keep getting their new squad cars all the time and shit like that. And it is a pretty fucked up thing. I mean, look, I'm all for someone being held accountable for driving drunk. I'm all for someone being held accountable for driving like a bat out of hell and endangering other people. I mean, there needs to be some accountability for that. Like speed traps and shit. And I see Ben Riley here pointing that out. Like speed traps. No, it's a fucked up thing. It's a fucked up thing. I had one hit me a few years ago. I'm a pretty good driver. Now, I will say this. I speed. But I got a radar detector and I have an eye for cop cars. They don't sneak up on my ass. I catch cop cars real fucking quick. Okay. So I don't get very many tickets. I've only had 2 ever. One was a seatbelt violation and the other was this speed trap. And the speed trap, I was going into a town of Woodruff, South Carolina. Okay. That being said, basically, the speed limit the whole fucking way down this road was 55 miles an hour. You get to the top of the hill. Right as you get over the top of the hill, there's a speed limit that you can't see going up the hill till you get right at the top. And then right at the top, you can see it sitting right there. And it's like no ways. I mean, it's like off on the side of the road. As soon as you see it, you're damn near on top of it. Okay. And the speed limit drops 30 miles per hour. You go straight from 55, or I take that back. It drops to 30 when you get more than C. Drops straight 20 miles per hour. Okay. It goes from 55 to 35. You can't see this fucking thing come down. So the only way you would know about it is if you commonly travel that road, which I didn't. I've been down it before, but I never fucking paid that much attention. So I topped that hill, and a fucking cop is sitting right behind that damn sign with a gun. There's no way, unless you slam on the fucking brakes, you're dropping that much speed in that short a distance. Which I hit the brakes, but I was still doing probably about 45-ish. Pop my ass. So yeah, people like that. I have one good thing to say to you. Fuck you. Because all they do is prey on fucking people for their tax money. So let's see. DJL7. Yo, was it the wife's cooking? What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'll always blame the wife. Ed just got disinvited from South Carolina. What are you talking about, dude? What? I'm seeing all this shit coming through here. Did Charles say it wasn't the wife? Ed, what are you talking about with my wife's cooking? Oh no, I don't know what you were talking about. No, I was speeding through the town, and I do that. full disclosure, I told a guy at my lodge not too long ago. One of them was talking about the problem with his wife's cooking, and I said, the problem with my wife's cooking is she just don't do enough of it. she can cook. She can cook. She just doesn't do much of it. She doesn't like to get in and actually fix food. She doesn't like the process and then the putting the work involved and this and that. So let's see. DJ L7, you were speeding around town and not to your wife's cooking. OMG, Charles, are you sure? Yeah, no, I wouldn't, because I wasn't going toward my house. I live in Spartanburg, and I was going into Woodruff, South Carolina. And that's a little ways away from where I'm at. It's not terribly far away, but it's far enough away. So no, I had my my F-150. So if you want to know what I was actually going to do, I know a guy down in Gray Court, South Carolina, who works on some stuff, and he has a machine to charge up like air conditioners on vehicles and stuff, and charge up the pumps and the compressor or whatever. And so I had this old I still actually have it, old 1990 F-150. I was trying to get the AC working, because I'm gonna be honest with you, some people delete their fucking AC when they do this kind of shit. But I'll be honest with you, in South Carolina in the fucking summer, fuck that bullshit. I need some air conditioning. It gets to be a hot, humid motherfucker down here, so I need some air. So I was actually going to see him, and he was going to be helping me with doing that, because changing the compressor out was going to be one thing, but it needed a little more work done that he knew more about than I did. And he also had a machine to suck out all the Freon from the system, because you got to really drain that system out. And then you got to hook up like a vacuum pump, and you got to get all the moisture out. So he had all that shit at his house. So I was taking it to Gray Court, and he was going to be helping me work on that. And that's what I was on my way to do. And, you know, good old fucking Smokey found me and pulled me over. So, Brian Aguilar, Lone Wolf Podcast, what do you think about White Lives Matter? Divisive. It's fucking, if you were to say that shit, it doesn't matter what it means really at the end of the day. If you said that shit in today's climate, shit would hit the fucking fan. I mean, look, I'm of the opinion that all lives matter, or at least if it's an issue, because I mean that gets fucking buried in of itself. I think from a moral point of view, just being intellectually honest, everyone's life matters. Everyone's life should be just as equal as anyone's, regardless of what color they are. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Okay? But that being said, it becomes so fucking politicized that it ain't going to end there. And when you say all lives matter, you get all kinds of people who come out and they'll rip your ass a fucking new one. Oh, he's a white supremacist. He won't fucking say black people get killed way worse than white people do. So if you say white lives matter, they're gonna be like, what the fuck do you mean white lives matter? There's not a problem with white people being targeted and killed like there are black people. And then you're gonna have debate. There's gonna be people who point out this statistic, that statistic. Look, I even if you have the best of intentions, it's not a good message. Let's see. DJ L7, where you get that hat, and is that a voodoo hat? No, it is not a voodoo hat, because I do not practice voodoo. If you want to know where I got my hat, I will tell you. Go check out warnstar.com. It's in the custom section. Now, they make a standard normal black hat or whatever, that's straw or whatever. But no, this was down in their custom section. They have different like handmade custom hats. So I will tell you this. This is something that I got for myself as a Christmas present because it costs a little bit. So as Ric Flair once said about his robes, I'd love for all the kids to have these, but at the price, it's a little hard to do. So if you want to see them, go check them out, warnstar.com. They got some pretty good shirts, different clothes. They got like custom jeans, vest. I go ahead and tell you right now, if you want it, if you want that custom stuff, you're going to pay a pretty penny for it, though. So, but yeah, that's where I got it at. So, let's see. Ben Riley, thoughts on the Texas grid situation? Whew. I don't know what they got going on with their grid down there in Texas, but they definitely have some fucking problems. It's not a story that I followed extremely close. I heard both sides of the aisle. I hear people talking about, see, this is proof the windmills are no fucking good. And then there are people saying, like, well, the windmills weren't protected properly because they weren't, insulated and had thermal heat or whatever to keep them from freezing, and that it wasn't even actually the windmills that caused the problem. Really, I haven't studied that much, I guess, to draw my own full opinion, but I will just say this. If the windmills were the failure and they weren't heated because they weren't expecting a fucking freeze, geez, is it that unheard of? You're in fucking Texas. Like, when's the last time someone heard of Texas freezing over? I mean, it's fucking hot. It's hot. You're in Texas. A fucking snake gets a suntan on his belly. Okay? You're in a fucking hot ass place. It's not known for freezing. And the South just isn't known for getting much snow anyway. Like, look, we get an inch or two of snow in South Carolina and we lose our fucking mind. It's time to go buy some bread and milk. Like, rush the fucking store and buy every damn bag of Sunbeam your ass can find. If that's fucking gone, get Bunny or what the fuck ever, but get that bread and milk. So, oh, Lord. Brian Aguilar, how about all lives matter? Well, it's like I said, if I had to go with one, that would probably be the one that I lean the most close with, just because I feel that all life matters. But I get where the people who really believe in the Black Lives Matter thing are coming from. So I say this should either be all lives matter or Black Lives Matter should have probably just again, word carefully your message. Black Lives Matter has played into the hands of the critics, not just because of how they say the name, but in a lot of what the leadership has then turned around and done with the money that they raised. And that plays into the critics' hands. So if you really believe in what Black Lives Matter pitches as their message, then to me, I think they should have probably labeled it something along the lines of, Black Lives Matter 2 or something like that. Because then just adding that one fucking word can change the whole dynamic and take the argument of the critics right out of the room. Because the argument of the critics are they're basically saying Black Lives Matter and everyone else don't, and the focus should only be on Black lives. And so many people are going to look at that and say that's just not true. But the critics are going to take that ball and run with it when they start showing more black people killing white people and things like that. Or they show like where the black guy kidnapped that little kid or whatever, you know what I mean, and then killed him. They're going to use the shit and say, like, see, and if that guy ever went to a Black Lives Matter rally, they're going to tie that shit in together. That'd be no different than if someone ever was at the same place in time as a Confederate flag, support march or what the fuck. If he was ever in anything that could be tied to the Confederate flag or a white supremacist or the KKK, and he shot a black guy at some point later on, it'd be the same damn argument. So I just don't think that their message was put together very, very well. Ben Riley, as he said, all our lives matter. Yeah, I think that could be a pretty good one. But at the same time, say this life matters, and if you were just referring to the black community, someone's going to skew that. I think the big difference, adding one more fucking word on the end, wouldn't have changed that much shit as far as who would be willing to support it, but it takes the fucking ammunition. It takes that gunpowder away from the critics who then want to try to pitch it as, you're being just a supremacist in the opposite direction because you don't give a damn about any of the other people that got fucking killed. And I think they've been able to take that ball and run with it. So 4 fucking words could have made a huge difference. So again, word your argument carefully. Ben Riley, I hate marketing so damn much. It's a pain in the ass. It really fucking is. Let's see. DJL7, I know it can feel personally offensive because it feels like your life is worth less, and then you kind of get. So I'm going to touch on this real quick, and then if anyone else has some questions that they want to ask, drop them in real quick, and I'll probably be just wrapping it up here because we've gone for a pretty long time. But this is something that I point out to a lot of the people who talk about the inequalities between black people, white people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If you look statistically, yes, black people do live in poverty more. There are a lot of measures we've seen, we've heard about how they're in a worse condition. This has been like my argument with the whole critical race theory thing. There's a way to talk about those problems and how to fix those problems without making it so racially based. And when you start throwing this shit around the room about white privilege, white privilege, white privilege, white privilege, are there white people who have had silver spoons in their mouth and have had it better? Absolutely. Absolutely. And is it possible they might have been looked at more favorite because they were white as opposed to the black person? Absolutely. These things are absolutely possible. But the problem is there are a lot of just working class, regular old blue collar white people. They exist. They don't have silver spoons in their mouth. And we're not talking about the rich, bougie white people. They say white people, just white people. You lump us all into one fucking column. If white people were to do that to any other race and just lump them all into one column, you know what they'd call that? Racist. They would call that racist. They wouldn't fucking like it. They'd say, you can't lump. That's like similar, and Ed can attest to this. How many people try to just dismiss different Asian communities and not recognize there's a difference between Chinese people, Japanese people, Vietnamese people? You know, how many people just, oh, well, they all fucking look the same, so they must be the same. You can't tell them apart. They all look the same. If people like you, if we did that or anybody did that to someone else, it would be called racist as fuck. But yet you lump all the white people together like we're all a bunch of fucking rich ass Jeff Bezos. That's just not fucking true. It's not fucking true. And what happens is when you keep talking about this white privilege, this and that, look at the statistics. The poor are getting poorer, and it goes for every fucking race, white people included. They know their standard of living has gone down from where it used to be if they're just regular working class. And they're like, you mean to fucking tell me I've got privilege when I'm making less and less money and risk losing my fucking home and I've got fucking privilege? It's divisive. It's divisive, and you lose fucking people in the midst of that argument. And it's just not, it's not good. So again, adding one more word could have changed a lot of shit. But leaving it there allowed that fucking avenue to give the critics that live ammunition, give them that gunpowder to load their guns with. Okay. Brian Aguilar, should the government take down statues, including the controversial ones like Robert E. Lee? No. That is, if it wants to be taken down, I think community should have to say so. It is anything like a statue. It's on public land, and it is being paid for to be built or to be upholded by the community. Now, understand this. If the statue's up in a town that's predominantly black and they want it gone, they should be perfectly allowed as fucking taxpayers of that town, because they're fucking paying the taxes on this sumbitch. That's like if I was fucking paying a car payment for a fucking car that I didn't want. I should be allowed to stop making payments on the sumbitch and get rid of it, right? Same fucking concept. It's public land. The taxpayers pay to keep it up. If they don't want it there, petition City Hall, get your fucking group together, and get rid of the sumbitch. What I don't agree with are angry mobs coming in from out of town because they found it offensive to just rip shit down because they don't want it to be there, and you don't fucking live here. Because that shit is a slippery fucking slope. It started with statues, and it ended up being private businesses that got burned down next. Do you remember that fucking shit? That wasn't an offensive symbol to burn down someone's business. They just burn shit down. These letting mob rule have its way and shit like that, there's no good gonna come of it because it's the old fucking expression. You give them an inch and they take a mile. You give them an inch and they take a mile. Well, that's just how things tend to work like that. So, Ben Riley, you want CRT to be more intersectional isn't a bad take, but now it's a political issue, so that ship has sailed at this point. Honestly, I don't want CRT at all. I want what Dr. Martin Luther King said. I want people to be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. I think action should come with consequences. And if you want to make good decisions in life and strive to be a better person, you should be treated as such, respected as such, and not looked at because you're black or white or whatever. That should not be the consideration. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. If you're an honorable stand-up guy or woman, then you're an honorable stand-up person. If you're a slimy, shady motherfucker, you should be treated like a slimy, shady motherfucker. And it should not matter what the color of your skin was or what your pigmentation was when you came out of a womb. Okay? That's where I'm at on that. So DJL7, if you ain't got to look at it, then it ain't your business. Absolutely fucking right. Like, look, this idea of people demanding what you can and can't do in your own communities goes against the very nature of living in a free country when you think about it. Seriously, think about that. Like, where does that fucking shit stop? Where does it end? That's a very slippery slope. Flat out, you should be able to do whatever you want, even if you don't agree with it. You know who made a good point of pointing this shit out? The people who were able to get satanic statues put up. Because there were towns where there were religious statues. Now, understand this, people. There is a difference between putting statues up, even if it's Confederacy, that still has something to do with U.S. history. And in the South, especially, it has something to do with the South. So it's a historical thing. Debate why it was put up, whatever. Okay. That being said, religion ain't got no fucking historical context other than the fact there were some founding fathers who were Christians. Yet you get statues of the 10 Commandments and the Bible and Jesus, and it's on taxpayer land. What if everybody who lives in that community ain't a Christian? What if half the community ain't Christian? So yeah, the Church of Satan got involved and said, okay, we want satanic statues put up. It's on fucking taxpayer land. And they got their fucking way. So, look, I am not a member of the Church of Satan. I've admitted I'm not a Bible thumping Christian, but I am a person who considers himself a Christian. I just use it to try to do better for myself. I try to use teachings of loving thy neighbor and apply that into my own life. Okay. And so, again, if a community doesn't want something to be there, it should be their decision to get rid of it. Naturalist Capitalist, shout out to my buddy Reed Coverdale. Again, remember, come back 9 o'clock tonight. Video with Reed Coverdale, Misconceptions of Capitalism, will be coming up. Let's see. I gave up on Amash Gabbard after I found out more about the Dave Smith. Tulsi keeps having horrible COVID takes and doesn't really seem to be interested in policies, and Amash just isn't. Yeah. And I was kind of hinting at that earlier. I disagree with a lot of what her takes are on COVID. I do think if we could get her over to the Libertarian Party, and that's the thing, we're never going to agree on everything. But COVID ain't going to be around for forever, and I don't think Tulsi Gabbard's got her opinions based on being bought off. I think she just has her beliefs. And so I do think if we could get her into a unity movement or the Libertarian Party or whatever, I do think it could be a big help. I really do. But, even if it's not her running for president, I'm not so sure that she, quote unquote, wants to run for anything like that at this point. I think it's probably why she left Washington. Someone else said in the chat here earlier, she probably just wants to go and have a kid at this point or something. Let's see. This is DJL7. I think this will be a good one to end on here. What did you think about the latest spat at the Libertarian Party? I mean, I don't think it's got as bad as what's going on with the left right now, what we were talking about in this video. I don't think it's been that bad as what's been going on there. I think it definitely has had some issues. But again, I think the Libertarian Party, and this is what I said too, they can spat if they want to. I take it about as serious as the Green Party stuff at the moment. The Libertarian Party has got to show me that they are playing chess in a chess game and not checkers in a chess game. They got to show me that. And right now, unfortunately, they haven't. They're going to have to really get their shit together. I reference this, and I'm going to continue to reference this until they show me they're taking shit more seriously. They got to show me. They got to show moi. They got to show yours truly sitting right the fuck here with the cowboy hat that they're taking it seriously. And by not running opposition to Lindsey fucking Graham does not show me you're taking this thing seriously. That was some low-hanging fruit, in my opinion. And they didn't take it. And they should have. So when they show me they've got their game plan together and they're a little more serious, by all means, there you go. But until then, I'm gonna I lean more with libertarians at the moment, but I'm keeping my options open and I'm maintaining my status as an independent. And I saw David Spurrier. I haven't forgotten his chat. I don't know if he's still in watching right now or not, but I saw David Spurrier in earlier, the radical independent, vote Indy and vote independent. I will say this: if you get an independent candidate and you don't have a libertarian candidate, vote for them. But ultimately, vote for who you think represents what you want the most. And if we don't get a unity coalition together who can figure that part out, well, unfortunately, I don't know if much is going to happen. But the libertarians definitely are going to have to get their shit together, in my opinion, and start taking things more seriously. If they do, they've already got a lot of ballot access on their hands, and they might have a chance there. But only time will tell. It's been a good video here. I appreciate all the interactions from the viewers, all the chats, answering the questions. Like I said, I'm going to start trying to do this once a week. How I'm probably going to do it. I'll open up, talk about something for a little while, and then I'll open it up and react to what the viewers want here. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't and you like the video, what are you waiting on? Definitely, if you like this channel, you like what we've been talking about here, you like the things that you heard, we talk about stuff on the channel. We don't try to just be echo chamber. I give the point of view from someone in the South, blue collar guy. You don't hear it that often. So if you like this kind of thing, you want to hear more interviews, things like that, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because that way you'll know when we upload videos. If you don't do that, they won't fucking tell you. They'll just leave you sitting over there in the dark, and you're going to wonder, where's that guy with the cowboy hat at? So make sure you hit that bell. Drop comments in the comment box below. We'll see you next time right here on the Lone Wolf Podcast. And remember to check us out tonight, 9 p.m., Misconceptions About Capitalism with Reed Coverdale. We'll see you next time.